So welcome everyone to our webinar today. I'm Simona Bevenita from Hermitage Solutions. Let me remind you that Hermitage Solutions is IT value-added distributor of security, infrastructure, and network solutions. Every month we organize webinars about the most relevant cybersecurity topics. Our topic today is Keep Calm and Control Your Share Sensitive Files, which will be represented by our guest Javier Nieto León, International Business Development Director at Sealpath. But before we start, I want to remind you a few things. So every one of you is muted. If you get some questions during the webinar, please write them straight to the chat box or directly to Hermitage Solutions. Our mail is info@hermitage.lt, and we'll try to answer them all. Well, enjoy the webinar, and I'm giving a word to Javier.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Actually, in the Baltic area, I'm Javier Nieto León, and I will introduce you today our solution, Silpat. If there is any doubt during the webinar, please don't hesitate to write in the chat. I will ask for also to write in the chat in order to don't interrupt all the time during the webinar. So I will, all the time that there is appearing any question, I will be answering this way. So let me introduce about Silpat. First of all, we are a European vendor with customers in more than 20 countries. We have also reference such as Deloitte, Telefónica, Ferrovial, Sareb, and we are also 100% channel oriented. It means that we always work through our channel partner, where we never sell directly to the end customer. So in order to know what is Silpat, I will start to speak about how is the context. So our solution is to protect the data, because your data belongs to you and it should remain like this. But let's see how does it look the context. The context is about information security, because we are an information security solution. And there are 4 challenges that every company is facing, which we are able to cover and also help to support you in this task. So the first challenge is about data breaches. Unfortunately, the data breaches are becoming more and more often. So this is one of the first challenges that with Silpat you can feel comfortable and fix this kind of problem. The second one is the GDPR, where I will show the articles that we are with Silpat you are also able to be compliant. And because of the data breaches, there is also the problem of the loss of reputations in the company, because now also with the GDPR, you need to make public if there is any kind of problem or issues from the data leak side. And the last challenge that the company needs is facing every day, and with Silpat you are able to cover, is how to share confidential information internally and also to external users. So these are the 4 main topics that with Silpat you are able to cover, and you will feel comfortable and not worry about this kind of issues. So let's make it more practical. From the practical point of view, when you need, for example, to share, let's imagine that you need to share, for example, a contract or legal documents or economic proposal, and you share, in this case, let's think that, for example, it was an email that you sent to many users. The point here is, once the document is out of the company, you are not able to control anymore, or they don't, let's say, belong to under your control. So it might happen that these documents, maybe they are just shared by, for example, a mobile, a cloud, Dropbox, WhatsApp, and it might finish, for example, also in your competitors. So the main point here is, because there is no security traveling with the documents, once the document is out of the company, you control you lose the control over the data. So what is the concept that Silpat changed about this? Instead of to think that you will make a safe place where you can maybe put the documents there, we change the concept and we say, okay, the documents that we can see here are all the time moving. You need to move. It's impossible to just store in one place. So you can make the document like the new security perimeter. And doing this, how we do in Silpat, you are able to control who can access the file, what rights do they have with this file, so they can only read, or in a state of they can print, copy and paste, modify. You can also control when they can do this. And the last point, and not the least important, you can also control where they can have this. So this is where what we call control over the 4 W's: who, what, and when and where, and they can do with these documents. And how is possible to do this? So the same concept of control remote, for example, that you have with the TV, that you can say, I change to the channel 1, channel 2, more volume, less volume. You can do all these things remotely. So with Silpat, you can do remotely the control over data. And this is the concept that with Silpat we introduce to our customers and partners. If we come back to the previous slide where we see that we lose the control over the data once the document is out of my computer, is out of the company, this is not happening with Silpat, because with Silpat you can control what they are doing with this data, who is accessing this. So in this way you can be sure that only the user access that you grant the access, they will be able to access the file, and the rest of the file, the rest of the users, the access is denied. So in this way you can control, once again, all the time, wherever they are, the documents. Now, if we think about which kind of customers they need this kind, or they have this kind of problems, actually every company who is managing intellectual property, legal management, finance, human resources, files, so all the companies that they need to manage critical or confidential information, they need this kind of solution. However, we have 4 sectors that we are more active, and these 4 sectors are the healthcare and bio, the industry and manufacturing, finance, service and insurance, and also the public administration. But once again, if you need to manage critical information, you need to make the security perimeter over the file like we do with Silpat. If there is any question, or there is something like you didn't understand, I can try to clarify now. Otherwise, I will pass to the next point. So is something that I can help you, or is everything clear? Okay, so everything is clear. I will just pass to the next point. Also, the last clarification before I go to the demo site, where I will show how to create a policy, how easy it is just to use this tool. I also would like to clarify that our solution is on-premise and cloud, and sometimes it's making confusion with this solution. We are not, let's say, a Dropbox solution secure or something like this, because we don't store any documents. The only that we do is secure them, protect them, and it doesn't matter wherever they are stored. So just in the case that there is any doubt, because sometimes it's a little confusing, we are not this kind of solution for storing the documents. So the documents are always remain in your site. So now I will show you how to protect your documents. So let me show you the demo. For this, I prepare a few files where I will just protect them. So right now I'm sharing my screen again. This is the Silpat desktop. And first of all, I will show you how to create a policy. And once the policy is created, I will just protect this document. But in order to make faster, because here is how to create the policy, I will just take a policy already created. And as you can see here, there is the same steps. So there's only 4 steps how to create a policy and have the control over the document. So the first one is just name and description, where you just, in this case, is confidential shared document. The second step is permissions. So here I'm doing user by user. So user by user, you can grant the permission. However, I would like to clarify that our solution is able to integrate with Active Directory. So these permission, these user access, you can then do easily. You don't have to go one per one. It's just in the same way that you manage the Active Directory. So here for this demo, I will just make user by user. In this case, I'm Andrew Robinson. I simulated that I'm Andrew Robinson from S10 Lab. And as I say, user by user, you can also make if this user is only able to open the document, or they are able also to modify, print, copy and paste. So for this demo, I will just grant the permission for lecture. You can do this, as I say, with more users, but this is enough for this one. So the third steps, as I mentioned before, you can control the time, so you can control when the data is accessible. And you can make this by this third choice. So you can put an expiration date where you say, okay, after 28th of November, anybody is able to access the file. You can also even add add watermarks, make or allow offline access in the case that you don't have, you are not online to open the documents. And the last case, you can also share this policy with another users. In order to make more simple, I will just create like this. So right now I have this policy, confidential sharing document. And as I say, one of the main points to use Silpat is the usability. So to protect a document, you just need to drag and drop the document over the policy, and it's already protected, as you can see here. You can do also the same even with the right button of the mouse, Silpat, My Protection, but it's just another chance. And you can even, because this is working also with have native support of the whole Office packet. So you can just key here over the document, and we have a plugin Silpat, protection, and the same. So the document is already protected like this, as you can see. So it's very simple to protect the file. Now I will show you how does it look from the other side. So I will just simulate that I'm the Mark Aldrin. And I will open the file which I have access. So the first that you can see, probably actually you will see a black screen because right now I don't have, this document doesn't have access to copy and paste. But anyway, the first that you can see here is permission windows where you can see, okay, it's not possible to edit, not possible to copy, print, and other features. So if I just try to modify, if I just try to print and other things, it's just not possible. So it's like directly cancel it, and it's not possible to print this or to any other features. So this is from the point of view or how to create a policy, how to use, and how does it look from the other side. Now, imagine, for example, that this user is leaving the company, or you finish the contract with this company. So how to avoid that, for example, a former employer, external users that you were working before and now you are not working, any kind of former cooperation, how to avoid that they are not able to access anymore to the document. So you just need to come back to the policy, revoke the access of the user, and the user now, they don't have access anymore to this file. So if I try now to open again the file with for Mark Aldrin, they say that I have to request this permission to the content owner. I didn't mention before, so for if you already don't know Silpat, the way that is working is that you need to have your own user and password, and then just make a login in the Silpat solution. If you never have any, or you never make a login and your own user, the other person, they can invite you in this way. So you can just come here, contacts, and then I can invite you just writing the email. So you just need to register your email over our platform, set up your own password, and then you are able to open these files that you already have the access. There is also, like, I would like, before I go to the admin console, also to tell you that you can also do automatic protection of the folders, so you don't have to go for, document by document. Instead of, you can just create a rule, for example, for the whole folder or for the whole file server. So I will just create it right now. I just choose the folder, in this case is RDA project. I just choose the protection, and once this is done, every file that I just drop over this document is automatically protected. As you can see, now I didn't protect all of these documents, and they are already protected automatically. So before I pass to the web admin console, is there any doubt about how does it work or how to create a policy with Silpat? Okay, so if there is not any doubt, I will just log in as an admin, choose our Silpat admin console. And the first that you can see here is the alerts. So you can see here if I have any alerts, like I will show you right now. This alert is, for example, if there is user with no rights trying to access the document, or somebody that changed the protection, or if there is any document log, or as I mentioned in the presentation, I also mentioned that you can control from where you are able to access the file, and this is because you are able to associate an IP range to the policy. It means that you can say, you can set up for this policy, it will be only with this IP range. It means like only users inside of my company, they are able to use. And even the same user who have access in this company is not going to be able, for example, to use at home or out of the office. So this is the way how you can also set up. There is also more choice that you can have a monitoring of the user access by protection. So you have the whole monitoring side from the documents, who is opening, and the same by protections. You can also create a corporate policy. This means that you can create a policy for the whole company or for the whole domain. You can see also more statistics about the protection documents, users, and alerts. And the last point here in the administrations, you can also create a blacklist of users that you want to make sure that they are not accessing to any document. The same also, you can transfer permissions from one user to another user. So for example, there is today Mark Aldrin, for example, is working let's say Ann Becker is working in this department or in this project. Tomorrow, the new user is, for example, Mark Aldrin. So in this way, you just need to transfer the permissions to one user and another, and you don't have to start from the beginning with all these users. This is basically all the main features that I wanted to show today in the demo side. So before I pass to the next point, is there any doubt, or would you like to show something that is missing here in the demo? Okay, so if there is no any questions, I will just make a summary about what we saw in the demo side, because later after the presentation, we can send you also these slides. So what we saw now in the demo presentation, how does it work? As I mentioned before, it's super easy to protect the document just with the concept drag and drop. You can also create flexible policy management. So you can create so far a policy, for example, for the legal department, another for this A-RISI project or confidential document, or another for a different project. So in this way, you can have a granularity of depends on the kind of documents, who is accessing and what they can do with these documents. You can also share these by the Dropbox, box, file server, email, in the way like, once again, the security is traveling with the documents. So it doesn't matter that you are sharing by email, you are sharing by Dropbox, or you are sharing by the SharePoint. More even, you can even, with this kind of platform, as I saw before, you can also create automatic automatic protection, sorry. So in this way, you can set up, for example, for this link of the file server, all the documents will be protected with this policy. Or with Dropbox, or even with Google Drive that you are storing the documents, you can make a rule and say, okay, all the documents that I store here, it will be with this policy. So the Silpat security is always in with these documents. More even, imagine that you are also sharing the document via flash memory. In this case, it's working exactly in the same way, because once again, the document is in the security is with the document, so it doesn't matter that somebody, for example, steal your documents and store in a USB, a memory flash. You are able to control this. You can also use your native tool to open this. So rather AutoCAD, PDF like Adobe, or the whole Office package, you are able to just use and open in the same way, like there is no effect or there is no impact how you use these documents. So you just use in the same way that you use normally. And the last point, as I saw in the web admin console, you can also monitor the activities. So you can see by the user access if there is any alerts. And in this way, you are able to control also what they are trying to do with the document, who is trying to access, or so far, who was accessing to these documents. Now we speak about the supported platforms. We work with to protect the documents. It's working for the whole Windows environment. So starting with the Windows Vista up to also with the Windows servers from 2003 up to 2016. You can also you can also use this document like to read or open the documents in Mac, Android, Windows Phone, and other platforms. From the point of view of the native documents, or sorry, native support, as I mentioned before, we are able to support the whole Microsoft Office versions, but it's not only limited to Office files. This is something that we make different from any other competitors, because we can also cover other kind of industrial formats like once again AutoCAD, PDF files, and photo files, and other kind of documents that you use normally in your average day. The last point is about the integrations, because we also have the widely integration availability in the market, because Silpat is able to integrate not only with the SharePoint file server, Exchange server, also with Science, classification tools, Office 365, cloud storage, and probably also one of the most important, that we are also able to integrate with DLPs like a McAfee, Symantec, or ForcePoint. So this is all from the point of view about how does it work, Silpat. Now I will pass to the part of how we are able to be compliant with the GDPR. But once again, if there is any doubt from the previous point that you would like to speak, we can speak right now. Otherwise, I will continue to the next section, that is the GDPR. Okay, so if there is any doubts, I will pass to the GDPR. I would like to clarify that in the GDPR side, we are not going to explain what does it mean the GDPR, what does the new change that the GDPR bring with that. We are just focusing about few articles that are directly joined with Silpat, and how we are able to help you with these articles. So I will speak today only about 4 articles, and the 4 articles that were, some of them are really important in the GDPR side, is first of all the Article 32, where you need now, or is make a special mention that you need now to protect the sensitive documents by encryption. So with Silpat, because we are encrypting every kind of files, you are able to be compliant from this side, from the data protection by encryption. Also in the Article 32 is speaking about that you need to keep the confidentiality and integrity over the files, and how Silpat is able to make compliance over this is because we are able to have the control over who is accessing the file, so the confidentiality side is covered, and also if they can so far modify the files, so the integrity with the because you can control the permissions, you can also control about the integrity. The last point is also speaking in the Article 32 that you need to have auditory or monitoring tool in order to make sure that this is working, or this implementation is working properly. And because with Silpat you are able to cover the monitoring side by the auditory, because you are able to track in the access about who, when, and what they are trying to do with the files. With these 3 points is how we are able to help you to be compliant with the Article 32. This is one of the 4 articles. The next one is the famous Article 33, which literally say that now it's mandatory that you need to notify when there is a personal data breach under 72 hours, even to the people who have a direct impact over this data breach. However, in relation with the Article 33, there is the Article 34, which make one exception about this notification. So how the companies, they can avoid this kind of, as I mentioned before in the introduction, and reputation losses about making public all the data breaches that we see literally every day in the news, is because in the Article 32, they say that if the document or the data is protected, or is protected to unauthorized people using, for example, the encryption, then it's not necessary to notify this data breach. And more even, not only this, you are also making sure that even if they steal your documents, you can be safe that they are not able to do nothing with these documents. So this is about the article 33 and 34 together, how you can avoid of these public reputation losses and be safe that your data is protected. So the last article is the famous Article 83, which is speaking about the famous penalties. However, you can avoid these biggest penalties making compliance, as we saw with Article 32, 33, and 34. So with Silpat, you are able to protect the data by encryption. You are also able to make sure about the confidentiality and integrity. You can be sure that this is working properly by auditory or monitoring side. And as I mentioned before, you can also be safe in the case that somebody was stealing, any hacker or an authority or even an employer is stealing your documents. The documents are encrypted, so you can be safe and avoid this kind of penalties. So this is all about the GDPR side. If there is not any question, I will just pass to the last point. Okay. So the last point is just 2 slides more to show you how do we make difference. So this is a summary about how we are able to make difference to other competitors. The first one is the usability, because we have our own experience and our partners and customers that are using Silpat is something that they really remark, that is so easy to just use the solution. The second one is that the solution is available on-premise and cloud, so you don't depend only on the cloud solution. Instead, you can deploy on-premise in your own environment. The third difference is that we are able to cover all industrial supported formats. So this is not only, in this way, you are not limited to the kind of files about how to protect the documents. And the last one, as I mentioned in the presentation, is we have the widest availability of integration, which I will make a special focus in the integration with the DLPs. Once again, we are integrating with McAfee, Symantec, and FirstPoint. And in this way, you are making complementary the features of the DLP with the feature of Silpat, which is not a DLP, but is also able to help you to protect your files and to avoid the data leaks. So this is all for this webinar. Now there are a few minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, I will be so happy to answer you. Otherwise, I hope that it was really useful for you, this webinar.
Thank you, Javier. Actually, we do have a few questions. And okay, if you're ready, we can move to the question part. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, sure.
So the first question, is it possible to create a rule for a whole domain?
Yeah, you can create. I will show you directly in the demo side, because here in the second step, when you are creating the policy, you can just make a rule, for example, for the whole domain, like a Hermitage, and writing the domain. So you don't have to go user by user. You can just write this whole domain. They will be able to access the file, and then it's done.
Okay, that's clear. Another question, very practical. If an employee left the company, is it possible to unprotect his files?
Yeah, there is a. I will come back. Okay, first of all, if the employee leaves the company, you can always transfer the permissions to one user to another user. So then the new user will have the same permissions. But just in the case that you found that, for example, an old document for an employee who left the company, I don't know, 3 months ago, you can also create a super user mode, which you are able to create with this temporary email and password. You are able to unprotect any document. Protect it under your domain, obviously.
Okay, sure. Also, can Silpat protect files in cloud storage like Google Drive automatically?
Yeah, this is like how it's created here in the folder. So if we came here to the folder, and for example, so far in the Google Drive, there is also a local folder, so you can just select in the same way, like we were mentioning, like I was doing with the RDA project. And in this way, any folder that I store in my the computer in this folder, it will be automatically protected with the policy which I created.
Okay, and about file sharing, can admin decide who can send invitations for sharing files?
Okay, so once again, this one I'm not sure if I understood.
Can admin decide who can send invitations for sharing files? This was the question.
Well, the file is not like with Silpat, you are controlling, for example, if somebody can send a file. We don't have control over this, but over the policy, what we can have control is one of the features here in the permission is that you can have, you are able to grant permission to other users to add more users. So it means that they don't have to request to you all the time, please add this user to this file. You can do by yourself. More even that they can do by themselves in the alert console. In the you will be able. There is one section that is about user added. So if there is more users added that you would like to see who is adding to a new policy, you will be able also to have this control.
Mm-hmm. I see. And the last question, is it possible to, oh, I'm sorry, it was the same question. Yeah, the last question. Can admin decide to who can create protection rules?
Yeah, this is something that is here. So here in the admin console, you can also say, okay, these protector are allowed how to, and this user, they will be able to create their own policies, or these users, they will only apply the protection created by somebody else, but not new policy created by them.
Well, thank you, Javier, for your comprehensive answers. Actually, I want to thank to everyone for joining. We really appreciate your continued cooperation working with us. Please submit your question to us if you have anything as that you thought of after we conclude today's session. We will make sure that we will answer those. Thank you everyone again and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much as well for organizing such a webinar, and have a nice afternoon to everybody as well.
Have a good one too, Javier. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.